I'm Jason William Allen.
And I'm Stephanie Lanham, and welcome to Hallowed Hills. Cave Hill Cemetery was actually part of a 166-acre farm that belonged to the Johnson family. Originally known for its burlesque and picturesque style inspired by the Victorian era. They had sold this to the city in the attempts to make it part of the railroad because it was supposed to be going through Louisville, but like so many things from history, it changed its course and went an alternative route. Since then, they have turned it into the lavish Cave Hill Cemetery that we know today. Over 138 bodies are buried here, and they still have another 22,000 more areas for people to be buried.
I wonder if it's expensive as a normal real estate.
Probably. The Bear Creek River or creek actually runs through Cave Hill, and that's what gives it such its lush gardens. It is home to over 600 species of different wildlife, aka plants, not animals, and is known for its limestone and certain other stones that cannot be found in Louisville. When it was first built here, Louisville was actually several miles south. It didn't even exist here. Since then, they have built it up to the historical site that we know today.
Cave Hill is one of my favorite places to go. I've done countless photo shoots with the band stuff, and let me get my hand out of the way. Try to be a little professional here. Playing music and everything, and the music scene definitely in Louisville, Kentucky. It definitely is a staple to the community. A beautiful place. And I'm going to flip you around and show you a little bit of the scenery. This is a really cool place. It's huge. It's built like a church. And this is some of the architecture that you'll see where people are buried here. All the greenery around. It's just a very, very, very magnificent place. And as I said, I spend a lot of my time here. A lot of ideas for writing, a lot of ideas for art. And this is like one of the kind of normal places. We'll go up to some of the older spots. Everything has these winding roads and pathways. Like over here, if you could go show them where the path is. All through Cave Hill Cemetery, there's these little roads that you can walk through and just focus on what's around. A lot of people come up here and walk. I like to come up here and walk and just reflect on
1844. That's before the Civil War.
death in 1844? Oh, 1844 to 1905.
Now, Cave Hill Cemetery is the home and the final resting place of so many people in our history. Some of those include the McDonald sisters, who wrote the birthday song, Colonel Sanders, and George Rogers, who was actually the founder of Louisville, Kentucky. The Breckinridges and the Prestons are also buried here too. We do have a horse rider. He is buried here too, and his grave is actually a bunch of corgis that are playing. If anybody is a native of Louisville, Kentucky, they'll know that the Caldwells, which the infamous Caldwell Mansion, they are actually buried in the cemetery too. There's several battles that are famous in Kentucky. One of them was in Brandenburg. 2 of them were in Louisville, Fort Duffield. Some of the generals are actually buried here. And as you can see, this isn't even a quarter of the soldiers that are buried here right now. Back then, the times were rough. It was cold. They were starving. They were thirsty. So they came to Louisville, particularly around Cave Hill or at Brandenburg, because of their source of water. Bear Creek that runs through Cave Hill actually divides it from south and north. South being the newer part and north being the older, wealthier part. Now back behind me is one of the oldest places in Cave Hill Cemetery. Some of these graves, they date all the way back to the 1600s, and it is all along the wall that's on the far, I want to say, north side of Cave Hill. Unfortunately, some of them are so weathered because being out in the elements, rain, snow, all of that, that you can't read some of them.
Because of the Kentucky weather.
The wonderful Kentucky weather. I mean, when you have summer, spring, winter, fall all in the same week, it kind of puts a damper. Some of these are just so beautiful.
It's a really cool area. I like coming up here a lot. Done a lot of photo shoots up here just because these old gravestones are just immaculate, fantastical, abundance. It's everything that you see in a movie. And this is really small. This is a lot smaller now that I'm taking it all in and stopping, actually focusing on it instead of just seeing what kind of beautiful things I can see. Like the size of it and what it started out and what it's become is really, really cool.
Now up here towards the wall are where the older ones are that you can hardly read anymore. That's one.
It says something. Yeah. I like coming up and reading these. They're just the dates in some of these gravestones. This right here. I always wondered about this one. This one right here. Why? Like, it's like a duplex.
Oh, I know why.
Why? You know why?
Because right here, you notice how this wall looks all new? This one was actually back behind the wall, and they moved it up because this is like a family plot, like all of these back here. So when Cave Hill became Cave Hill, it was a farm, 160 or 200 plus acres. So family members were built along their property line, and that's why this is the oldest place.
See, on the other side of this is city.
Yes.
And the city developed, built the wall for the cemetery, and moved the bodies.
And in 1998, they actually passed a law with Cave Hill because so many people were coming in, being disruptive, destroying the cemetery, all of that, that anybody that is caught doing that will be punished to the full extent of the law. And we're talking like years in prison for destroying, because it's not only a cemetery, it's a historic landmark. Another fact about Cave Hill Cemetery is the first building that was ever built with stone was actually here in Cave Hill. And after the Johnson family sold this, it became what they call a pest house that was known for housing like the severely ill or injured sick. Unfortunately, that closed back in the 1900s, and then they turned it into like the visitor center.
Is the place still here?
It's not anymore. They bulldozed it, I think, in 1927 or around that time.
Oh, well, then we won't go to that today.
No, I don't think we're going to be able to. We can visit the site because they built the visitor center where it was at.
Gotcha. You actually learned a lot about this. I learned nothing. I just like the place. Okay. So we're almost done with our adventure here at Cave Hill Cemetery, our little wicked adventure. But we did promise you that we were going to take you somewhere very special. A reason for us actually coming to Cave Hill Cemetery today. And maybe with a little help of movie magic, we'll get there. Let's do a transportation scene. Did it work?
Worked.
I hope it worked. Anyway, we've made it to our location. So you want to tell me a little bit about this place?
So, back behind us, this is called the Temple of Love. It was built for Flora Martin Satterwhite.
Martin Satterwhite.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that name sound familiar?
So, Flora was married before to a man named James Martin. He was actually the owner of Martin Oil that is based out of New York.
Cool. So I'm going to do something and turn around so you can kind of get the size of this, because it is truly huge and very pretty, and it is probably mine and Steph's favorite place here. So let's see.
So back behind me is the famous Love Temple that is in Cave Hill Cemetery. It is actually built on a half-acre of land, and it was built as a memorial for Florence Martin Satterwhite from her husband, Preston Pope Satterwhite. He had it custom built starting in 1926, shortly after Flora had passed away. It wasn't built until 1927, where they transferred her from her first resting place that was in the Bronx in New York City to here. This was actually constructed using only pink marble, and it was designed to mimic the one that Marie Antoinette had in her palace that was right outside of Paris. Some people think that it's actually based off the one that's in Athens, Greece, but that's untrue.
So where is it based out of?
It was based off of the one that Marie Antoinette had in her garden in her palace in Paris, or outside of Paris in Versailles.
Let's go up inside. So pretty. The upkeep on this thing has got to be amazing. Here, the grave of... So they actually buried here, right? Or is this just a monument?
Yes, they are buried here.
So I'm standing on Preston Pope.
So how Flora and Preston met is Preston Pope, or Dr. Preston, was a very, very famous surgeon in the Louisville area. He was not born in Louisville, but he did graduate from U of L. She was over in Europe with her young son, James Martin, which is the only child that her and Martin had together. He was dying. She called upon him to come and try to save her son. Unfortunately, he had passed away before Mr. Satterwhite could get there. 3 years later, Flora and Dr. Preston Pope Satterwhite were married.
Look at that. Oh, that goes on forever. I make the audience sick. I'm just playing with my gimbal. So what else about this spot?
So she of course was a socialite, a lover of art. Mr. Satterwhite has actually donated countless money to Cave Hill Cemetery and would come and visit his wife yearly after he had moved to Florida, because they did have a home that was in Palm Beach, Florida. Many people come from all over just to view this memorial for his wife. It's breathtaking. People are known to leave trinkets or leave a wish of good fortune for love or love that's been lost. This is actually a site where people can actually get married. It usually costs anywhere between like $1,000 to $2,000. But you actually get married right here in the Love Temple.
Barf. Well, then, for a token of good luck, for our good luck, and good fortune, thank you, and stay tuned to the Hallowed Hills Entertainment YouTube for more things that we're going to do and bring to you, and check out the films and all that good stuff. So, from me, Jason William Allen,
And me, Stephanie Lanham.
stay wicked.